want to welcome everybody to our first professional development session of the summer. The school year has come and gone in a flash. Here we are in June, and I'm Danny Rubin. Met many of you over the last couple of years, but I'd like to see some new faces as well. From the Rubin Company, we're based in Virginia Beach, Virginia. We provide online instruction for employability skills, a lot of business etiquette, and today we're learning how to apply lessons around inclusion and access, equity, and diversity within employability. What does it mean to conduct yourself with strong communication skills across those themes? And I'll just briefly introduce on our team, we have Mac and Alexis on the Rubin team. They work with educators around the country to help bring these lessons and concepts into the classroom. So glad they could be here. They can go, you can turn off your cameras, you can go in the chat. Thank you, Scarlett mentioned, and I was going to bring it up, but just to kick it off, we have a little time. I'm not going to rush through we do a webinar series during the school year. How many of you have been to our webinar series before, our virtual internships? Any hands for that? I know we have some people that have been. And one thing, if you're not familiar, I'll share it right now. What we do is these are free sessions, and they're 45 minutes long, usually twice a month, and we do an interview each time with somebody from a different career pathway. And we talk about what they do in their job, but we also talk about employability skills across any job, being a good communicator, a good team member, good listener, good writer. And we store all of those sessions on our YouTube channel. And just to start us off, I'll share that. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong issue. I need to take my own advice and share with everyone. So that link will take you to our YouTube channel, but specifically to a playlist of now 30 recorded sessions. So take your time, take a second and look at this. I won't run up to the next thing. I want you to see this. Don't start watching one right now, but just bookmark it. You can subscribe to our page to get new ones, but just understand the variety of careers that we have covered and we will continue to cover. We're going to do this session again next school year. So a lot of good content for students to expose them to different occupations, some really cool people all over the country working in some interesting jobs, sometimes some really big jobs, national jobs. We talked to the woman in marketing for the Dallas Cowboys. So really legit people. And we'd love for you to share that with your students. So hang on to, yeah, thank you for your comment, Jennifer. So hang on to that. I was going to mention it anyway, but I'm glad that we already brought it up. So that's one piece of who we are. And this summer, we're doing sessions just for educators, of course, but we'll get back to the student sessions in starting in late August. So you'll see emails about that as they come about. So as I said, what we do is teach communication skills, and we're going to be learning out of our curriculum today, going through several different lessons. Before I do that, as we do during our summer sessions or during our school year sessions, I want to make available some resources to all of you that based on what we're going to cover today. So let me first explain that. We have some new material that we have not shared during the school year. So it's different stuff that you are welcome to have. I'll explain how to do that in just a second if you're new to our community. And by the way, if you just joined us, continue to please introduce yourself in the chat. Tell us what school you're with, excuse me, what you teach, where you are. It's helpful to know who's in the room. So you're welcome to say hello while we go through it. So what we've put together on the heels of today's conversation is a free Google Drive folder of lessons on inclusion and equity. And these are some of the topics we're going to cover today, and some that we're not going to cover today, but will be in this folder. We're going to talk about how to make sure every student is included with a video we're going to watch together, lessons on inclusion in real world situations, dress code for in-person and virtual opportunities to really hit on that access opportunity, understanding pronouns, introducing students to pronoun usage and what people prefer to be called, learning to respect someone else's opinions, even if it's not your opinion, learning to appreciate what they think and valuing different perspectives and some other items too. We put everything in a Google Drive folder. And so I'll offer this now and also at the end. If you would like these resources for your classroom, for your school, go to the chat now. We'll bring it up again at the end, but while you're here, type interested in the chat with your email address, and we will pass it along to you. And we know many of you've used our material before, but if you're new to us, we would love to chat with you for a few minutes tomorrow. Say hello and understand what you're teaching and how to bring these types of themes into your classroom. So if you're new to us, what you'll see on your calendar for Thursday, most likely, is a invitation for a 5-minute phone call. And if the time's not good, you can suggest another one. And we'd love for you to, we want to get to know you and help you make the most sense of it, and then pass it along to the rest of your school. Okay, so thank you for sharing your information. I'll ask you again at the end, for those who came a few minutes late, but I want to make sure you have these resources first. Also, and you can continue to type in the chat. I'll move on to the next slide. We have 4 summer PD sessions this summer. The next one is July 12th. We're talking about exercises for mental health. So please join us then. You'll see information about that shortly, like probably just before or after the July 4th weekend. But make a note on your calendar now to join us July 12th, 11 a.m. Eastern, and we'll do another session on those topics. And also, we'll be sure to send out tomorrow to everybody here. We'll send you a certificate showing that, and actually have need to correct that time. The time is off on a couple of levels, so we'll clean that up. And we'll send you a certificate showing that you were here for the hour, 11 to 12. So don't worry, it won't look like that at the bottom. And you can have that as proof for some of your continuing education time. Okay, so we will send you a corrected certificate either tomorrow or Friday, but hopefully by tomorrow. Okay, and also, if you end up watching this on a recording, you may watch it on our YouTube channel over the summer, into the fall, whenever. You can have the same resources that I offered previously. Just send us an email to support with the subject line of Rubin Inclusion Resources. Okay, so that's the first thing I wanted to mention. And what I will do now is share my screen, and we will start to look at some lessons around inclusion, access, equity, and diversity. And again, I want to make it a conversation. I want to hear from you where you think you would use these lessons and where they might fit. It's really important to just be practical about it and say, okay, where would this go and how could you use these ideas? So let me first share my screen, and we will, give me one second, we will talk about the different topics. There we go, that we've set up for everyone. So to set up the conversation, you need to understand where this material comes from and where it lives right now. So our company, I founded the company in 2017, and my background prior to educational curriculum was a journalist. I was a TV reporter for CBS News, for a CBS News outlet in Virginia, and also worked as a producer, researcher for Meet the Press on NBC. Anybody watch Meet the Press before? Hands up if you've ever seen Meet the Press on NBC. It's been on for a long time. So all of the guidance in our program comes out of industry best practice. It was what professional communicators do on the job. And we've brought those techniques into the classroom through a curriculum that we call Emerge. And Emerge is a big library of lessons that are 20 to 25 minutes long that students can do asynchronously or in the classroom. It's a big menu. And we'll look at a few lessons today from the program to give you a sense of, again, how we like to get down to that ground floor with students and help them to learn these skills in a practical manner. Okay, so we cover a lot of different in-demand communication skills, one of them being email etiquette. And we'll talk about an email lesson in a moment that teaches equity, if you can believe it, email writing connected to equity. I'll explain that when we get there. How many of your students write you emails that look like text messages? Any hands for that? Emails like they're texting you? So we talk about that a lot, and learning how to communicate professionally is equity. It's access. It may not look like it on the surface, but it truly is. It can open doors for opportunity. So we cover a variety of communication skills, and we'll touch on a few of these today. And we teach students how to write and speak. Also entrepreneurship communication and leadership communication skills. And embedded in all of these topic areas are themes of access and equity. Learning how to communicate, being taken seriously for opportunities, helps you get inside the door for the interview, for the opportunity. And if we're communicating, it's too casual, it's too sloppy, we're not quite ready for these conversations, then employers, for example, can dismiss the students and pass them by for opportunities they could have had if they had communicated appropriately for it. So that's what we're going to stress. I'm going to turn on my sound. That's what we're going to stress today. Where some of these items and themes that, some of these items and themes that we've talked about many times in our sessions, you talk about them at your school, cover letters and LinkedIn and emails. If we look at them from a different angle, we'll see that they are embedded with opportunities for access, equity, inclusion. It's there. It's just how we position it, how we present it. Because writing well, as we say at our company, writing well opens doors. And so we're going to use that lens today for the conversation. What I want us to do first is we're going to watch a short video where we understand the power of inclusion. And we're going to provide this video to everybody in that free Google Drive sampling. So I want you to watch it with us, and we can have a conversation in the chat about where this video could go, okay, and how it could fuel discussion. So let's watch a short one together. My name is Danny Rubin, the founder of Rubin Education. As a leader, you must always have your eyes and ears on a swivel, looking out for people who may not be part of the conversation or part of the group. Always making sure everyone is included and accounted for. Let's watch a scenario where that situation plays out.
Traffic was terrible this morning, wasn't it?
Oh my gosh, it was like bumper to bumper. Oh, so frustrating today.
Rush hour is the worst. Every morning I get hit by it trying to
It was absolutely.
This is awesome. So,
yeah, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
So lucky I made it in on time. You guys made it
Nobody knows I didn't.
I know exactly.
right on time. It's ridiculous.
So lucky. I missed that meeting.
Did you see the person standing in the background on his phone, looking down awkwardly, hoping somebody would talk to him while everybody in the group in front held a conversation and didn't notice him? We want to make sure that we're always looking out for people who need to be included. Let's watch the scenario again, and this time, someone from that group will reach out and make that introduction.
Traffic was terrible this morning, wasn't it?
264 is the worst, absolutely.
God, it's like bumper to bumper. I was like, I have only 5 minutes, and it took me 15 minutes to get here.
So lucky I made it to work on time.
Hey, listen, do you guys hang on 1 second?
Yeah,
Mind? Thanks.
sure.
Excuse me. Hi, my name's Jesse. How are you?
Hi, Jesse. I'm Kevin.
Kevin, it's great to meet you. Listen, I've got a group of friends over here. If you wanted to come join us, I just noticed you were over here standing by yourself.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I just rushed right into the restroom and came right out like I was already there.
Hey, guys, this is Kevin. Kevin, this is Esmo.
Kevin,
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
So, Kevin, tell us what you do, man.
I'm a realtor in the area. I help people.
Now
buy and
that's
sell
more
homes.
like it. Jesse left the group, walked over. Okay, so hopefully everybody was able to watch that video. I want to go to the chat and get some thoughts. So hopefully you heard it and you saw it. Okay, where would you show a video like that with your students, whether it's in the classroom or with clubs, with CTSOs? Tell me in the chat, where would this go? Where would it live? Where could you show it? And then have it fuel discussion. I want to see some of your thoughts in the chat. Classroom, okay. Leadership team, first week of school to promote inclusion. Classroom time, classroom as a follow-up. What about with any of your student leaders? Or if any of you are involved in peer mentors, new teachers. It'd be nice to see a video with, well, yes, we do have some videos with high school students. This particular one, we had some young professionals. HOSA class, CTSO officer training, great. We want to help make it real for students. If we all know that student who's standing off in the corner, and the power of walking over and introducing that student and bringing them in, that could change a lot in that student's life. Let me see some more of these chats. Definitely the classroom, new staff, education for employment, PDs, something I would use in my success in the workplace for FBLA events to get them comfortable. And we're going to talk a little bit more, Bryce, in a few minutes about networking and how our networking skills can actually fuel diversity lessons in the classroom. National Honor Society, great ideas. Thank you all for sharing your ideas. It's important to think about, okay, you have this video, where would you play it? And then how would you use it to fuel discussion after the fact? So this is something that we're going to provide in that Google Drive that you can use as you see fit, as a way to strengthen inclusion, as one example, because it's all about helping students. Once they see the visual, hopefully they start to be more mindful. And if students want to be seen as leaders in the school and in their CTSO, then this is truly what makes a leader. We talk a lot in our material and in our webinars that, being the president, being the vice president, that title doesn't alone make you a leader, right? That's just a title. But leadership are sometimes those little moments that when nobody's paying attention, right? It's doing all the right things when nobody's watching. Raise your hand if you agree with that. That's true leadership. And if the students are, if the leaders in the club or the class go over to that shy freshman and say, join our group, I want to get to know you, that is leadership. And those are the moments that can really make the other student feel much more welcome and willing to stay and participate. So I want to start with that and kick off that theme of inclusion with something that I hope you can take and run with and use throughout the summer and the year. I want to switch to, well, actually, we're going to stay on the inclusion theme one more time. And this is an exercise we're going to provide you as well that I would love to see how it goes with you when students return. We've had this in our curriculum over the past year. We've had some teachers doing this and we've had great results. So what we're talking about here is learning to respect other people's opinions. Now, let me be clear. This is a student activity, and it could be right on the heels of watching that video. So this could be a kind of a tag team. But this is not about, we do not talk about sensitive topics like politics or religion at all. We are going to teach students to hold conversations around very benign, harmless topics, to learn how to hold a conversation, but more importantly, listen to the other person. There's simply not enough listening in the world, right? If we turn on TV, everyone's just waiting for the next person to stop so they can tell you what they think, right? If you turn on any channel, it's just, you want to just jump in and interrupt and say, no, this is what I believe about anything. And we aren't conditioned, as we maybe were in earlier times, to listen to people and give them the floor, the time of day. So this activity is very simple, and you can use it over and over again in different variations. So let's look at what's going on. Okay, I'm going to break the students into pairs, either virtually or in person. And we're going to have students choose a discussion topic, or the whole class can do the same topic. And I'll show you some suggested topics in a moment. They're going to pair off and choose sides of the topic and argue each side. Okay. And the students will listen to each other, give their full argument, and then share their argument when that person has concluded. And let me show you some topics. I want to give you a chance to read. These are, a little funny, a little lighthearted. I'll give you a second to read down the page. I'm sure students could debate number one for months or years. So lots of topics that are just easy to debate, right? And the idea is that students will not agree necessarily on the topic. We don't want them to agree. We want them to take opposing sides, and we want each student to listen and truly hear the argument from the other side. They don't have to have their view changed. That's not the point. The point is that they appreciate someone else's point of view, even if it's not their own, because that piece is missing from the world. There's not enough of appreciating people's perspectives, even if it's different from yours. So you have them choose one topic, or you could have them choose their own, or you could do this once a month and always pick a different topic or make up your own question. Of course, these are just topics to consider, right? So it's just to get it started. And what you do is have the students argue these particular question and then present to the class as a pair. But what they're going to do is present what the other person said and why they value the other person's opinion. So they each share the other person's opinion to show that when you grow up and you go in the world, you will meet people who you may not agree with necessarily, or you could benefit from their perspective. So the key is to truly hear them, learn from them. Maybe your perspective has changed. Maybe it's not. That's okay. But the point is that we can't grow unless we're learning from others and about others. And my hope is that you could use this at any grade level, as many times as you want, to reinforce inclusion and diversity of opinion. It really covers all of the tenets of our webinar today. And it teaches students to be open-minded, but most importantly, good listeners. I'd love to go to the chat again. I want to see, where would you use an exercise like this? Where might this fit? Maybe some of the same places that you just said for the video, but I want to know how this exercise strikes you. Where might you take this hands-on group exercise around inclusion and make it real in the classroom or in the competition prep room or whatever different room you fall into? Where would this go? Where could this help you? And what ideas does it strike? You're welcome to take it and make it your own, modify it, of course, but we want to give you a starting point. So anybody have thoughts in the chat about this particular exercise and where it might belong? I'll come out here for just a second. Because again, the point for today is to make it real and to give you actual lesson plans and activities and not just preach to you about why inclusion matters. Thank you, Jennifer. As an activity prior to assigning a group project so that students are more open to others' ideas and opinions. Ooh, I love that. That's a really good idea. See, you're all pros. You know what you would do. And we want to spark conversation. Morning and afternoon student skills groups, education for employment, good idea. Great icebreaker. Michelle says, could even use some of these as bell work to spark some great conversation before covering a topic they need an open mind about. I love that. Icebreakers, great stuff. Great stuff. This is what we hope happens. We put material in your hands and then you do what what you would do best with it and deliver it to the students in the manner that they need it. The bottom line is we need open minds. And even if students think they're open-minded, which is a great place to start, it's different when you're put in a setting where you have to truly hear someone and not be focused on your own needs and your own opinions, but you're living in their moment. You're giving the other student the time of day. That is such a lost skill, is being willing to say, I'm going to set myself aside for right now. I'm not going to focus on me and I'm not going to share my opinions right now. I'm just going to let someone else talk. I'm going to let them be heard, right? How important is it, raise your hands, for students, adults, all of us to feel heard? Even if we don't solve our problem, even if everything doesn't get perfect after that, just feeling like somebody heard us. How important is that? And how rare is it when you meet somebody new who is willing to just listen to you, aside from a therapist that you're paying to do that, right? Someone you just meet. And so if we can teach students to go out in the world and just be listeners and let people tell them what's on their mind, they feel so much better after they just talk to somebody, and students can be the catalyst to do that. Bryce, you said, I like the idea of a unit icebreaker to get students more comfortable. So good stuff, great ideas. And I appreciate all of your contributions in the chat. We'll keep moving through a few other lessons that reinforce these various themes, inclusion, access, equity, diversity, opportunity. In Virginia now, they're adding the word opportunity. All these themes sort of flow into each other, and that's why they're grouped as they are. But I'm trying to isolate these themes as well, so you can see exactly what theme you're addressing. Let's go to access and equity. And I told you that writing an email, I mean, how many emails have you already written today, right? Too many in your summer. We write emails all the time. They're just a means to an end. Writing an electronic message, let me send it out, hit send, reply to this one, reply to that one. It becomes so mundane that we forget there's tremendous power in writing well, and teaching students to do so from a young age can be a game changer for them and open doors to opportunity that they may not ever have, because the world is too quick to judge people on, we judge books on their cover. We say, don't do that, but we do that. And we make snap judgments on who we think people are based on how they present themselves to us. Make sure I'm catching the chat. Yes, and actually, Bryce, is a good question. It's one of the things that we're updating our material to be more clear with sort of key takeaways and lesson goals right at the top of the lesson, so that it's identifiable for the teacher and student. So it's a good suggestion, and it's something that we're working on for next year, just being more prominent with that. So what we're going to do, what I want to show you, is an email to seek an internship. How many of your students seek internships during the school year or in the summer? Any internship programs or help with internships on your end? So just as an example of access and equity, because we know that there's a certain way to conduct yourself professionally, and some students are not going to receive that type of training at home or from their parents. And it's either going to come to them through school or they're not going to get it. And so they're going to do the best they can, but they're going to send a message out that looks like a text message. It's not formatted. And what is the employer going to do? If the student writes the entire email in the subject line, which I know many students do, and you probably experience it on a daily basis, if they send the entire email in the subject line and they mean well, they're well-intentioned and they would be a good employee or good intern, but if the whole thing is in the subject line, what do you think the employer is going to do with that email? Tell me in the chat. Are they going to read it? Are they going to ignore it? Are they going to never look at it? What do you think a busy employer is going to do? If the whole thing's in the subject line, or the whole thing is lowercase, or the whole thing has no punctuation or no sentence structure, Vicky said it probably best, they're going to delete it, right? And if they're not taught somewhere along the way that this is not how you do it, or they're not going to take it very seriously. But if we can teach students how to format a message and how to write in a way that's professional, that right there in that moment, if that email is answered, if that email leads to an interview, leads to a job, leads somewhere, that is access. Raise your hand if you agree. That's access. That's not just a talking point, and it's not just an email. It's something much bigger than that. You could help break the cycle of poverty for a child or a family by helping that email get answered. So it goes that deep. So that's why we say, yeah, it's an email. We send a million emails. No, sometimes it's more than that. And so let me just take you through a sample message and talk about what it means to format it correctly to get a response, and hopefully something even beyond that. So we talk about subject lines. What goes in the subject line? Not the entire email. And we learn to name names. We name the company. We put it right in the subject line. It's like if you saw your own name in the subject line or your school, you're more likely to open it because it's a word you recognize, a word that resonates with you. So we talk about using proper nouns, names and places, right at the top. You introduce yourself with your name and where you are, your year in school, where you go to school. Now, we've talked about this in different sessions over the years. For those of you who are new to it, I want to draw your attention to this section right here. It's very important. This is where the access and the equity happen, right here. I'm interested in, for example, urban planning. I want to gain skills and real world experience with your team. Then you're going to give one sentence on why you like what the company does. I researched your website. I read all about your vision for Acme Apartment Complex. That project looks fantastic. I would love to observe and be part of the planning process. Can somebody tell me, what would I have to do to know that the company just built Acme or is about to build Acme Apartment Complex? Where would I go to find that information? What would I do? What would I have to do to find that out? And I use the word right here. We talk about it in all of our student webinars. We do our research and we learn about the company. And then we reference their projects. But I don't just say, oh, your company's so incredible. Can I intern for you? You do amazing work. What word, what proper noun? I'm just circling it. So there's no trick questions here. Just tell me in the chat, what words did I use to show I can actually name one of their projects? So I'm not bluffing. I'm not blowing hot air. I can back up my claim. I say Acme Apartment Complex. And that right there shows I've done my homework and I know what they do. So the access goes both ways, right? Life is a two-way street. You have to write an email well enough that they take you seriously, but you have to do your own work too. You have to do a bit of digging to learn about them and put that information in the message. How long would it take a student to visit a company's website, read about a project, and put the name of the project in the email? How long would it take to do that? How many minutes would it take to do the research, find the project, and put a sentence about it? How much time? 5 minutes. 5 minutes. These students are savvy, right? They know how to get on the internet better than we do. This is not hard. It's about thinking about opportunities differently and showing through our message that we are ready for opportunities. So, and then we share some information about kind of who we are, what we do at school, some of our background. We can even attach a resume. So this message, which is just looks to you and me, just, yeah, this is what you write. But we know students would not write a message like this on their own. We know they don't know proper structure. So by teaching structure, and not just structure, but the soft skills, the interpersonal skills inside of the structure, we create access and equity. We can transform somebody's life. Now, sometimes it could be they go for an internship, it comes and it goes. I'm not saying that everything is a Disney movie or every single moment becomes transformational, but it is possible. It is possible that students could, let me ask you if this could be a real life situation. Could the student send this email that's professional, get a response, get an internship after high school, they get a job, they work there, one day they're in management, one day maybe they're the CEO. Could that happen? Could that actually happen in someone's life? It starts from an email when they're a sophomore in high school. Raise your hand if you think that's possible. If you think it's possible that opportunity can start from a single message in high school, it can. But if they wrote that email poorly, and as we said in our chat, it's probably not getting answered, well, that's access denied. So that's why we focus so much on our team about these little one-off, run-of-the-mill daily moments, because these inside of those moments contain seeds of opportunity. And if you really want to teach access and equity, it starts with communication going out. And because of how we know that students are perceived and how ugly messages are perceived. It's a tough world out there, but we can overcome that if we have a plan. Okay, let's move on. I want to touch on one other skill, sort of a professional skill that, do any of you help students with LinkedIn? Any hands up for LinkedIn? I want to talk about that for a moment too, because it also, this exercise here, what I'll show you, it's not just for LinkedIn, it's also doubles as an elevator pitch. Does anybody here help students with elevator pitches for competition or for career fairs? So I want to show you that. And you could think about, and you can certainly use this recording later and you can show this on to students on the screen. Okay, this will be on our YouTube channel. So let's talk about on LinkedIn, the profile summary. Everybody familiar with the profile summary, that intro paragraph on LinkedIn where, isn't it amazing? LinkedIn has 500 million users, but they give you no guidance when you talk about yourself. They just say, here's your profile page. Okay, tell the world who you are. And that's intimidating for anybody at any age. We don't know what to say, how long it should be, what it should include. So if you look on LinkedIn, that section is all over the place because there's no structure. So we provide a structure. We provide a guidance and a template for students to follow that doubles as an elevator pitch that they can take and use outside of LinkedIn. But in this context, it's a LinkedIn summary. So the first line is, who are you? You're a junior at Acme High School, interested in computer science. Okay, that's your first line is like, just tell me who you are right now in this moment. And then the next part is called, what do you do? And this is where we get more detailed with what we like to do, and we lean on specific words and terminology because that stands out. You might say, I'm a tech geek. I spent a lot of time in the school's computer lab. It's where we learn to deconstruct laptops and build them back together. I'm vice president of the campus computer club and love to pick apart a motherboard or hard drive and help people with their computer challenges. Can somebody go to the chat? Tell me, what are some specific words you heard in there? Parts of computers. There was a student organization. What are some words that you saw that were words you could actually wrap your head around? They are concrete terms. They are real things. We don't just say I'm dedicated, I'm driven, I'm passionate, I'm hardworking, I'm a leader. We don't say those things. We actually say the things that we do, that we get our hands on or that we're a part of. Can anybody tell me a word in here related to computers? Motherboard, thank you. Deconstruct. And also we named this organization the Campus Computer Club. So we are telling the person, the reader, this is who I am, this is what I do. We don't fill it up with a lot of adjectives and a lot of flowery language, a lot of business cliches. There's a lot of that on LinkedIn, but it's not worth much. What really counts is, what can you do? What are the things that you're working on, touching, doing, building, creating? That's what counts. And then the last section is, what are you passionate about? And this is a line, you should think about it for yourself too. As educators, this is we all have a line like this. Why do you wake up and do what you do? What inspires you? What drives you? What motivates you? And how can your efforts help to better someone else's life? So the student could say, when I finish school, I hope to find a job that uses computers and the latest technology to make the world a smarter place. So we're not saying, when I get older, I want to get a job to be really rich and dive in my money like a pool of coins. That nobody's going to get excited about that or want to write somebody back about that or reach out. It's all about, how can your skill set and your passions and your talents make someone else's life better? And that's how we should round out this profile summary to tell the world is what I hope to do one day once I'm out there in the world. So it's really a very short profile, but it tells us who we are, what we like to do, and what drives us. So this doubles as not just a profile summary for LinkedIn, but it could also be on an e-portfolio. It could also be for like competition preparation or for career fairs. And again, it in its own way, it is access and it is equity and opportunity. Because if we can tell somebody in 30 seconds who we are, why we matter in a professional manner, then the person who receives that message is more likely to want to help us, introduce us, give us opportunities. And so it all comes back to how we write about ourselves and how we share our value so that nobody could ever discredit us or discount us because of how we presented ourselves. If the student makes a LinkedIn profile and the profile summary is blank, or it just says student at such and such high school, or like motivated student, that is not going to help somebody looking for a great intern to say, oh, let me talk to this person. But if the student has a profile summary like the one I showed you, then the reader gets excited. The reader wants to contact the student and things can happen. So again, it's overcoming stereotype, and the employer doesn't always think the student could write or communicate on that level. And when they see that, it makes that student more attractive for opportunities. So again, that's what I mean when I say access and equity. It takes many forms. And one of those is a profile summary and elevator pitch and getting students ready for real opportunities. One other thing I want to share, some of you may have heard us talk about this before. It's really a cornerstone of our curriculum and our instruction, is the power of storytelling. And it's such an important theme when we talk about equity and access. I want to show you a sample cover letter. In our program, as I told you, it all comes out of journalism, right? So we teach students the power of storytelling and the use of narrative. Just like if you're watching a TV show or a movie, you're watching local news, if the story does not captivate you, you're going to change the channel. You're going to turn it off. You want something better. We all want to be entertained. So we are teaching students how to write about themselves through a story of overcoming challenges. Okay, and I want to show you one because it really does, and it's again, in a sneaky way, it speaks directly to access and equity. Okay, so follow me here. This is the opening line. I looked up at the sky and couldn't believe it. Storm clouds. For months, my team and I had prepared for the annual Big Nonprofit Charity Bash, in which students throw a party for 24 hours straight and raise money for children's hospitals. We had the campus quad reserved and the event ready to go. Then out of nowhere, a huge thunderstorm threatened to ruin everything. As team leader, I organized our group to take the dance party inside the gymnasium. I notified all participants about the location change and worked with an audiovisual tech to ensure the music played indoors. Within 3 hours, we had the Big Nonprofit Association party back on track, and in the end, collected $11,000 for charity, the most we had ever raised. I want to ask the group a question. Can you go to the chat, please? Tell me some of the words, some of the qualities, the characteristics that you would use to describe this young person. What adjectives come to mind? Give me a few good ones. What do they suggest to you? What are they acting out? And I'm getting you to a point where you'll see that doing a cover letter like this is directly connected to equity. Quick thinker, leader, problem solver, solution seeker. Great stuff. Now, did you see a sentence in here that says, I am a quick thinker, I'm a leader, and I'm a problem solver? Did you hear a sentence like that? A line full of adjectives? No. The story came through in the story. So we want students to lead with their experiences, not their adjectives, because the story is the proof. Now, when we talk about equity, I want to direct you to one more thing. Look at this cover letter. Where is the student's name? Where do we finally introduce ourselves? Where is the name? Part 1, part 2, part 3, which part? Part 3. We don't know their name until the story is over. Now, why would we do that? Because we want the outside world to judge students on their character and their work ethic, not on their name and not on their gender and not on their race and not on their age or their neighborhood or any of those qualities. That's what the world loves to do, is say, oh, I know exactly who this student is. I know where they're from. I know based on this, based on that, I already know who they are. No, you don't. We want the story to tell the employer everything about this student, tell them who they are on the inside, and then the name can come in. So when we talk about access and equity and giving students opportunities they may not have had otherwise, It's about teaching students to tell their story and leaving their name until it's over, and making the employer go crazy for that student because they want that student's work ethic, which is the hardest thing to find. I'm sure all of your employer partners have said to you, right? You send us great technical skills with these students, but the soft skills, right? How many of you have seen surveys or sat in rooms where the employers always say, we need more soft skills. We need more of that. We need more of the employability. We need more of that. Well, we need to meet them halfway once again and use our experiences to show them who we are. And then they will understand. So again, you're welcome to use this example too through our recording, because it's all about catching the employer off guard and letting the student really shine through with what makes them special and unique. And that's when opportunities happen. The last thing I want to share, and then we'll do a little wrap up, is one more group exercise. And this one, it's similar to the one where you're learning to respect other people's opinions, but it has a different angle, a different approach, learning how to appreciate people's diverse backgrounds, diverse experiences. But it's another good icebreaker, bell ringer, starting off assignment. This can be done over and over again throughout the year as well. Okay, so this is what happens. The students pair off, and person A, person B. For 3 to 5 minutes, person A can only talk about themselves. I'm sorry, I say it in this way. Person A can only ask questions. Person B can only answer. Now, what are we doing here? This is the classic like happy hour or social gathering at a conference or anywhere in our lives where we find that there's something that we want to share, but the other person keeps taking back the attention. So if the person says, like, I just had the best weekend. I had so much fun this weekend. What should we say next to that person? Tell me in the chat. What should we say? They said, I just had the best weekend ever. What do we say to that person next? What comes out of our mouth next? Not a trick question. Tell me in the chat. What happened? What did you do? Instead of saying, which happens all the time, and I've seen it, you've seen it, you say, oh, I had a great weekend too. I did da 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 da. And the person was like, but I wanted to tell you about my week. But you thought it was an opportunity to talk about yours. This is what happens all the time. We're always wrestling for control of the conversation. And this activity teaches, no, for 3 to 5 minutes, my focus is on that person. What I think, what I've done does not matter right now. And so the students learn something that's so important and almost taken for granted in the world of journalism, which is the power of follow-up questions. And we've talked about this in our webinars a little bit over the past school year. I try to reinforce this with students when I'm interviewing people. And let's take it one step further, okay? They say, I had the best weekend ever. And so you say, what happened? They said, oh, I went to this really cool concert. So what do you ask next? Tell me in the chat. They say, I went to this great concert. What's the next thing you'd say? Who was singing? Who performed? Who did you see? Right? And we keep going down that path with the student. And we let them just keep telling us whatever they want to talk about. And the more they talk, the more they feel valued. And ironically, the more they even respect the person they're meeting for the first time or talking across from, because they say, this person cares what I think. And that skill can change lives many, many ways over someone's lifetime, to hold on to this idea that, no, I'm going to be a listener. It's not arguing a topic this time. It's just hearing somebody, letting them take the conversation where they want to go. And when we talk about things that we like, we get excited. And I promise you this, if you can think of your students right now who are introverted, they don't like communicating, they don't like participating. If a student starts asking that introverted student about something that student likes, that student will start talking, and they might not stop. Because once you start talking about your thing and the other person really cares about it, you get excited. We're all like that. It's not just teenagers. all of us. So you do it both ways. They spend, person A asks the questions, person B answers, and then you switch, and then you come back to the middle and you talk about the experience. You talk about what it was like to have to really listen to somebody and think about next questions, and also talk about what you learned about the person that was interesting to you. And it's just a great conversation. It's a great bell ringer. You can do it throughout the year with different pairs and continue to reinforce that, well, diversity matters, diversity of opinion and thought, yes, but also this rarest of skills, which is being curious and being a good listener. The world needs more of that. And I hope that this activity can make students be more mindful, make all of us be more mindful. And I find it, talking to people I don't know is sometimes very interesting. You never know what they're up to, what they're working on, what they're doing. And that's where we grow too. Any hands up, be willing to try this activity in school, similar to the other ones? So we'll provide this one to you as well in the Google Drive. So you can bring this lesson back to class. And I'm hoping that it's simple, it's quick, doesn't require a lot of prep or paperwork or moving parts. It's just easy, and it gets them talking and thinking. And honestly, it makes them a little uncomfortable. And you know what? In this context, that's a good thing, because there's too many people who go through their lives and they only hear themselves talk. And when you can go to a party, you can go to a conference, you can go to a business meeting, and if you learn how to just be inquisitive and ask the room all about themselves, you will be the most popular guy or gal in the room, and you wouldn't have said but, far less words than everybody else. Because you're the one that made everybody else feel validated, and that is a very special thing. One second, I see your question. The Google Drive, I'll explain in just a second. I'm going to wrap up here, head for home, and I'll explain. We mentioned it at the beginning. I'll bring it up right now. We're going to send it out to everybody in the coming day or so. Let me just reiterate what I said at the beginning in case you missed it. So we put together a Google Drive folder of some topics, some of which we covered today, some we didn't get to, but it's in there anyway, around equity and inclusion. So you'll be able to go through that and grab what you need. We'll be sending that out to everybody. If you're new to our community and you never received any of our resources before, this is what I mentioned at the start, that type the word right now, go to the chat, type the word interested and your email address. Anybody can do that, whether you've been here before or not. But if you're new to us, what we like to do is have a 5-minute call, likely tomorrow. We'll send you a calendar invite for a time. If it's not good, then you can suggest another one. And then we can get to know your program and your school and help you to make sense of the material for your students. So that's what we like, to have that human touch when it's somebody new. It's a little impersonal in these webinar settings. So that's what you can expect, and you will receive these resources. Also to mention that our summer professional development series will continue July 12th, 11 a.m., talking about activities for mental health. We will be sending out a certificate. I mentioned that we need to correct the time on the bottom so you get full credit with whoever you're showing it to, but a certificate coming to you for being here today. And if you're watching on a YouTube recording, you can email us for these same resources with the subject line provided. Okay, so we'd love to give you these resources and spread them through the school. Our goal is to push these ideas out into the classroom where you can make that true impact on students. Again, as a reminder, our company is Rubin, and beyond our webinar series that we do, we have a robust online curriculum for employability skills with these themes and many others. But we love to share out some of our best stuff in these settings so that you can make use of it right away and help students become stronger at these skills as well. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything in the chat. Okay, great. So are there any other final questions, or I'll let you go a few minutes early? Thank you, Linda, for signing up for our other session. In fact, while we're sitting here, let me just give you the link to the next one that you can, if you want to sign up right now, for the one on mental health, much more casual vibe summer. Here you go. This is the link for the the one on mental health if you'd like to join us. And we'll have 2 others late July and also into August. We'll send some reminders out next week about these things. Love to have you, and please share with other teachers. I hope you found today's session useful and practical and usable. And we'll see everybody again in a couple of weeks. Any final questions or comments, or we'll let you get on with your summer? All right. Well, I appreciate everybody's time. Hope you stay safe in the heat. Find a pool or a beach, and reach out to us. You'll see some emails from us. Reach out with any follow-up questions. Okay. Thanks again.